4.8 million years ago, the Earth was a world both familiar and alien. The sun still rose in blazing fire over wide horizons. The rivers still wound their way through valleys, and forests still whispered with life. But in the heart of Africa, on plains that would one day cradle the origins of humanity, small groups of early hominids were fighting for existence. Their survival was fragile, balanced between hunger and plenty, danger and safety, darkness and light. The climate was shifting. Africa was not the endless grassland we might picture today. Instead, it was a patchwork of dense woodlands, scattered savannas, and winding waterways. This mosaic of habitats forced early hominids to adapt constantly. They were not yet masters of their environment. They were creatures caught within it, bound to its rhythms, vulnerable to its cruelty. Every sunrise brought both opportunity and threat. Food dictated everything. The first thought upon waking was not about dreams, not about plans, but about hunger. What could be eaten? What could be chewed, swallowed, and digested to keep the body moving for another day? This was a core of life. Survival through diet. Their meals were shaped by the land itself. Fruits were among the most precious sources of energy. Hominids searched the trees for figs, berries, and tender shoots. The smell of ripe fruit carried through the air, a signal of promise. With long, searching hands, they plucked what they could, mouths sticky with sweetness. But fruit was seasonal, and seasons could be merciless. When trees bore little, hunger drove them to roots and tubers, hard, fibrous foods dug from the ground. These demanded strong jaws, grinding teeth, and endless patience. Seeds and nuts provided bursts of fat and energy, cracked open with determination, often shared among the group. Insects, termites, ants, beetle larvae, were protein-rich treasures. A simple fallen log might hide a feast if overturned with enough strength and curiosity. Small mammals, lizards, and birds' eggs were snatched when luck allowed. Every calorie mattered. But these hominids were not hunters in the way their distant descendants would become. They were opportunists. They scavenged. The remains of a carcass left by a leopard or hyena might provide marrow-filled bones, scraps of flesh, or even nutrient-rich organs if discovered quickly enough. The smell of rotting meat drew both danger and hope. To arrive too late was to risk facing the very predator that had killed the animal in the first place. To arrive first was to eat. Water was just as vital. Rivers were both lifelines and death traps. To drink meant crouching low, scanning constantly for crocodiles lurking beneath the surface, for snakes curled among the reeds. Sometimes they used sticks to stir the shallows before lowering their faces, hoping to reduce the risk, but thirst pushed them forward. A mouthful of muddy water was better than the agony of dehydration beneath the equatorial sun. And all around them, predators ruled. Lions with golden eyes moved silently across the savanna. Leopards waited in trees, their spotted coats blending perfectly into dappled leaves. Packs of wild dogs tore across the land, relentless in pursuit. Even the shadows of eagles overhead brought unease, for young hominids could vanish in a sudden swoop of talons. To live in such a world was to live in constant fear. Fear that sharpened the senses, that demanded vigilance from dawn until the stars once again lit the night. Yet survival was not just about food or avoiding death. It was about cooperation. These early humans were not solitary wanderers. They lived in small bands, families, perhaps 10 or 15 individuals, bound by the instinct to protect one another. Together, they searched for food, defended themselves, and nurtured their young. One could imagine a mother clutching her infant close as she moved through tall grasses, scanning every rustle. Older juveniles gathered together, playfully imitating the adults, learning through mimicry which berries were safe, how to climb for fruit, when to stay still, and when to run. The elders, slower but wiser, carried a memory of where food had been found seasons before, guiding the group to hidden resources. This was knowledge passed not through words, but through gestures, through movements, through shared memory etched into survival itself. But cooperation was tested daily. Imagine the scene. A male hominid crouches near a fallen branch, prying at the soil beneath. He knows the scent. Tubers lie buried there, thick and starchy. His fingers dig and claw, pulling free the dusty prize. But he is not alone. The smell draws another. A second hominid approaches, eyes fixed on the tuber. There's a moment of tension, a low grunt of challenge. Will the food be shared or fought over? Sometimes a group worked together, breaking and dividing. Other times, desperation led to conflict, hands swatting, voices rising in sharp cries. Hunger could fracture even the closest bonds. Yet more often than not, survival favored cooperation. To drive one another away was to weaken the group. To share was to endure. Predators, however, were merciless. One evening, as the light dimmed and shadows stretched across the woodland, the group gathered near a cluster of trees. A juvenile, curious and bold, strayed too far. Suddenly, the grass erupted in a coil of muscle and scales, a python vast and powerful, wrapping itself around the struggling child. The screams brought chaos. Adults rushed forward, shouting, flailing sticks, pelting stones. The python squeezed tighter, its strength immense, but sheer numbers gave the hominids an advantage. Together, they struck again and again until the snake loosened, slithering away into the dark. The child survived, bruised and terrified, clinging to its mother. That night, around their primitive sleeping site, the story of the python lived on, not in words, but in gestures, hands mimicking coils, throats rumbling with warning cries. The memory would keep others vigilant. Fear itself became a tool of survival. Through fireless nights beneath the stars, they huddled together for warmth, their bodies pressed close, their hearts beating in rhythm with the darkness. Night was the most dangerous time, when sight failed and sound magnified every threat. Yet it was also a time of closeness, of safety in numbers. The group was everything. Slowly, over countless generations, these struggles shaped not only their bodies but their minds. Each challenge etched new patterns into their behavior. Every shared meal, every united defense against a predator, every journey to find water strengthened the bonds of cooperation. From these fragile beginnings emerged the seeds of humanity, the drive to endure, to protect, to adapt. We look back now across nearly 5 million years, knowing what they could not, that they were the forerunners of us all. Their diet was not just about survival. It was a foundation of human evolution. The energy from fruit, from marrow, from roots and insects, all of it fueled the slow expansion of brains, the refinement of social bonds, the spark that would one day ignite fire and shape tools. When we imagine their world, we imagine our beginning. The roots of human history are buried in the soil they dug for tubers, in the bones they cracked for marrow, in the rivers where they risked everything for a drink. Every bite they took carried us one step closer to who we are. Their story is not just about survival. It is about becoming. And so, for 0.8 million years ago, under the unyielding African sun, amid predators and hunger, fear and fleeting triumphs, small bands of early humans carved out an existence. Fragile, uncertain, yet enduring. Each heartbeat echoing across time, each struggle shaping the destiny of humankind.